everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Hey Sister. We're back. Hey sister, how you doing?
I am doing great. Just a tad bit tired. Been traveling this afternoon, but overall doing good. Doing good.
All right, all right. Well, if you tuning in tonight for Hey Sister, thanks for watching. Happy Labor Day weekend. We want you to join the conversation in the comments tonight. That's where all the action is in the comments. And we want you also to share this. So share this on your page. Let your folks know that, hey, they're on live now. They've been on hiatus for the summer. They only gave us a little sprinkling in the summer, but now we are back. Let's see who we got tuning in. Hey, Geneva, we're so glad to be back. Thanks for tuning in. So go ahead, tell everybody, come on in the room. Come on in the room because tonight is all about the hot topics. It's the first Sunday of the month, and child, there is no shortage of hot topics to talk about. What in the world is going on? I don't know. But we're going to start off with a couple of resting powers. Now, unfortunately, I have, there's always celebrity news and people who that we see on TV and that we hear about on a regular basis who have transitioned. Um, but before we get in on a personal note, I know a couple of people who've transitioned recently. One of my line sisters transitioned after a battle with breast cancer. And so I just want to say rest in power to Alyssa Thomas. Just really heartbreaking for me and for the rest of us. But I know that she really fought a hard battle. And then I just learned today of someone, um, awesome man, Sly Taylor, who is here in Orlando. He was an alpha man. He was an awesome, just really down to earth man. You've met him before, sister. Well, I'll tell you who he is when remind you later. And just really great human being. And he transitioned too. And so I just want to say rest in power to those folks. In addition to, we had some more in celebrity news. I'll let you speak to those two.
Well, no, I didn't know you were going to touch on some personal ones because, I mean, if that's the case, a few weeks back I had a coworker, Ravi Singh, who transitioned after a short but aggressive battle with lymphoma. And then another friend of a friend who became a friend to me because she was always the life of the party, a woman who everybody who met her loved her, and that's Miss Lydia Milton. And also, after a battle with cancer, came into the world and left the world on August 30th. Rest in power to those two people as well. They definitely shined their light while they were here, and so rest in power to them. And then, of course, in terms of celebrities or what have you, we talked about Greg Leaks transitioning. Um, of Real Housewives of Atlanta fame, being married to Nene Leakes. You talked about Willard Scott transitioning. As we all know, he always was giving the shout outs to the 100-year-olds and plus Smucker's jelly on the Today Show. And then is it Ed Asner?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
The last, second to last, of course, Betty White is the last member, I think, is the Mary Tyler
Mary
Moore
Tyler Moore Crew. Mm-hmm.
show. So yeah, so I mean, and throughout the summertime, we've heard of so many different people transitioning,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Like Biz Marquis was a big one for us. We did not come, we did not do a show when Biz passed away. That was really like, I mean, big influence in
yeah,
terms of early hip hop. And yeah, just so many this summer that while we were on hiatus, it's just too too countless to name, and so many just people also that have been stricken with COVID as well. And we're going to talk about that a little later. But, you know, love on each other, folks. That's the best thing I can say. Love on each other right now. Love on each other right now. So I say, rest in power. All right, we're gonna dive into more hot topics. Um, the hottest topic right now, especially for us being Louisiana girls, is this Hurricane Ida. Now, Ida has caused destruction in 22 states. There's only 50 in the United States. So nearly half of this United States was impacted by Hurricane Ida. Great devastation in our home state of Louisiana, but also some significant devastation um, through the Tennessee Valley all the way up to the Northeast. And we have lots of things to go through on this down this Hurricane Ida spectrum. So we want y'all to comment. We want y'all to ask questions. But I want to just, one is not on your list, sister, but I have to put it out there first. Why don't people evacuate? You know, every single time there is a hurricane, we hear this go on. Well, why don't people evacuate? Well, why don't they do this? And why don't they do that? Listen, it is true that many who do not evacuate can't afford to evacuate. That is true. But that's not everybody's story. Many also don't evacuate because the psychological impact of evacuating is tough, of leaving everything behind, not knowing what you're going to come back to is difficult. Many, if you know Louisiana, especially South Louisiana, many are elderly and infirm. And when you are in the care of your elderly or infirm parent or grandparent, what do you do? How do you plan to leave when they need medication or oxygen or all of these things? You have all of that set up in your home. You have the beds and the wheelchairs and all of this stuff set up in the home. How do you even think about picking all of that up to go somewhere? So before you start spouting off at the mouth about what people can and should do, and before you start saying everybody is so broke and desolate that they can't afford to, you need to know that there's more to the story, a whole lot more. And even people who do evacuate, child, they be trying to go back the next day when the storm over. You like, can you sit still? We have a personal story about that we could tell. How about that? Sister, I don't know. Tell me what you think about Hurricane Ida. And we've lived through many of these things.
So here's what I'll say. It seems in this country, we get really caught up on certain words like defund the police, like critical race theory, like climate change. And we have this inability to accept certain things as true because we don't like the words associated with that thing. So I'm at the point where I'm like, call it whatever you want to call it. But what we are seeing is a progressively more devastating weather patterns happening. So from the fires in California, in Nevada, and Arizona,
in Oregon,
yes, to hurricanes in the Gulf that started in the Gulf of Mexico, to the snowstorms. I mean, let's be clear, there was a Hurricane Sandy that was rather destructive on the East Coast. And so these weather patterns are becoming more and more destructive. For that reason, for those who can evacuate, I do implore them to do so. To your point, it's a very classist, to call it what it is. It's a very classist perspective to say, well, why don't you just evacuate? Well, there's a lot to evacuating. And I can remember for myself many years ago, having been on the road for 14 hours trying to get out of harm's way with friends, or with a friend who was with her family. It was one of the worst experiences of my life. And I just felt like I'm never going to leave again. Just because all the thoughts of, if somebody gets sick in this vehicle, they can't even, how do you get an ambulance to you if you're stuck in bumper to bumper traffic for 14, 15, 17 hours?
For what is normally a 5-hour drive, or
right.
For some people who were what was normally a 2-hour drive, they were like, it took 7 hours or 10 hours to get there.
Right. And then the feeling of, if this vehicle, if we run out of gas, what happens? You know, things like that. So it's a very classist perspective to say, why don't you evacuate? Because if that's the case, there would literally be no place in the United States that you would live. I don't know a place that doesn't have an issue with natural disasters at some point. But what I will say is, we do need to take into account that things are becoming more destructive. And so I would implore folks, just like we budget for our food and other things in our life, let's start budgeting to evacuate if you can. It is a psychological hardship. It's a tumultuous thing. There's also a lot of people who just don't have anywhere to go. Like, they genuinely don't have somewhere they can go. They can't necessarily afford to stay in a hotel. And I mean, like, let's think about it. The average person really can't afford to stay in a hotel for an extended amount of time. That's not even somebody who's impoverished. That's like the average working class person. You can't just stay in a hotel for a week or 2 weeks. So there's a lot to evacuating. But I would say, just like when I lived in California, you had to have your earthquake plan. I say, get your hurricane plans together, put you some cash aside, do whatever you can, because there are always going to be those people who can't. And let's not use precious resources for those of us who can.
We got a couple comments here. From Kiana, who is experiencing this. She said, my son evacuated. He now has to have all his stuff out of his damaged apartment before the 15th. He's not back yet. Even when you evacuate, you have to return to secure your home, to check your generator systems, because they can't run an entire week without you having to add oil to it.
Yeah.
And then when you talked about your experience when you evacuated, which was 16 years ago, that wasn't Katrina at that point, right?
No.
So it was, but my friend, and friend of the show, Blair, and I were having this conversation. He was like, remember, 16 years ago, we had evacuated twice and the storm didn't hit.
Yeah.
And that's where you were. You were in one of those situations. You were on the road 14 hours. You were like, dang.
You get there and it's sunshine. And it ain't a lick of rain. And you're like, I should have just stayed put. But of course, hindsight is always 20/20.
Yeah. And so there's so many things. That's why I said it's a lot of psychological factors that go into it. It's a lot more than just affordability. So before you start speaking on that, know of what you're talking about and talk to some people who've lived it, because there's plenty of us who can tell you the ups, downs, ins and rounds, how you have to go. You got to go back and try to get secure things. You never know what you're going back into. It's like, it's so many layers to this thing.
And I will say, when I did evacuate for Katrina, even though, because I didn't technically
accidentally evacuate.
I technically went to a birthday party out of state and said, let me bring these clothes I can wash while I'm gone. And it ended up evacuated. Even when that happens, there's this whole element. Like, I love to see the beauty of people coming together in these times, which makes me believe that we do have the ability to do that all the time and not just during disasters. But then there is always that underbelly. There's always that, thinking about how when I did evacuate that time and the guy I was staying with, he went out to get a generator, and it was in a matter of staying out there for hours, the price of the generator went from $800 to $1,200 while he was in line. Or the fact that you go to the gas station and there are people who haven't even been affected, but they're like, let me fill up both of my vehicles and 5 gas cans while I'm here. And it's like, but there's some people who are coming in who have been affected and they haven't gotten gas for a while. And so, yeah, I snapped off on people too. So it's just a lot.
It definitely is.
Even for those of us who weren't directly in it, our friend Kiana, many of the people who watch this show, our friends, we have family members, we have loved ones, sorority sisters, et cetera, who have been in the midst of the Hurricane Ida and then the remnants. And now there's another storm coming up. It's like, for those of us who are sitting afar, who love these people and love our home, it's treacherous for us too. It's not the same type of treachery, but it's treacherous for us as well.
Most definitely. Well, I know that there's more related to this that we want to talk about, because one of the things we want to talk about, and it's been all about the build back better, right? Mm-hmm. And it's related to so many other things, but we want to talk a little bit about infrastructure and how it relates to not just the devastation in the South Louisiana, but all of these storms that have occurred, whether they're weather events, fires, and what have you. And we have a Senate who is quibbling and squabbling over a $3 billion infrastructure bill. If we don't get this infrastructure together, it's going to cost us hundreds of billions of dollars, right? That's what folks don't seem to understand. And it just baffles my mind, because we just ended, and right, wrong, indifferent, good, bad, execution, whatever, but the war in Afghanistan, or that engagement in Afghanistan, is finally ended, in which $200 trillion was spent over 20 years. Can you imagine if just 1 year of that spending was taken from the defense budget and actually invested in our schools, in our Wi-Fi broadband infrastructure, and upgrading all of our power grid, because we saw what happened in Texas, updating all of our cybersecurity capacity, because we see what keeps happening with these ransom attacks. All of that is related to infrastructure. And right now, Louisiana is suffering because of the power, just like Texas had when they had their ice storm and all those people power went offline because of ice. That's infrastructure. All, like, there are hundreds and hundreds of there are thousands of power lines down all over South Louisiana. Mm-hmm. That's infrastructure. It hasn't been upgraded. It hasn't been invested in. Nobody wants to invest. Nobody wants to pay taxes, but Entergy sure keeps raising y'all bill, and y'all ain't holding them accountable. So what's up? Infrastructure is going to be our downfall if we don't get it together.
Yeah, I think that, again, one of these terms that people maybe don't understand. I hate to say it like this as a marketer, but maybe we need some better marketing campaigns, because clearly people don't like certain words, don't connect to. So maybe they don't connect to the word infrastructure. I would say if you purchase a house, you purchase it brand new today, and you live in that house, you run your AC, you turn on your lights, you do run your water, do all this stuff. You live in this house, and then in 30 years, you've done nothing to improve your house. You've made no improvements to your house. You fix none of the problems that have happened, the small problems that have happened in your house. You don't have pest control. You don't change the vents to your AC system, things like that. If you neglect your house for 30 years, in 30 years, what do you think your house is going to look like? People have to understand that every single one of these natural disasters has shone a light on just how poorly we've been managing our house. So whether it's Texas with the polar vortex and folks having flooding as a result, I mean, people dying, people trying to get heat in the coldest of winter, but yet they've been paying their electricity bill every month. That's a problem. You've neglected the house. You know, I when I lived in LA County, I often would say, you know, because the streets were so bad. In New Orleans, the streets are really bad. But the streets were so bad, and whenever you see the streets crumbling, that means something underneath the street is coming apart. Like, and usually what's underneath the street are your sewer lines and your water lines. And sometimes in certain cities, your electrical structure can be underneath the street too. But if you start seeing the streets bubbling and breaking up and whatever, that means those lines they need a repair. And I would often say with LA, I would say that I was like, we one major earthquake away from seeing some really destructive things happen. And so Katrina illuminated so many of the structural, but like institutional racism associated with the infrastructure of the actual place, right? So we saw that. Now we're in a situation where a lot of the people impacted are white Americans, white Louisianans who traditionally vote Republican, who say they don't want a lot of government intervention. Then the question is, if you don't want government intervention, if you don't want to pay more in taxes, if you don't want these things, how do you expect the infrastructure to improve? And how are you holding these companies that you are paying on a regular basis accountable? Because Entergy is literally like the only source of electricity in all of Louisiana. I think now there's 2 Fortune 500 companies in Louisiana. Entergy has been the only one for many years. So what are we doing? We have taxes are not just about this idea of it's about me. It's about, like you said, the infrastructure. That means your water lines. That means your power grid. That means your school system. That means healthcare. You know, all of these things depend. Your roadways. If you got big potholes and nobody's addressing them, you know, all of these things depend on us being able to take care of our infrastructure or taking care of our house. And we've been neglecting our house for a long time. Every one of these new disasters just reveals another crack in our foundation.
Absolutely. And I will once again say, don't tell me the money ain't there. Just tell me you don't want to spend it.
Yeah.
Don't tell us that it's not there, because, and so this is the other thing where people get really confused too about the budget and about the federal budget. So like there is the military budget, which is completely separate. Then you have Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, which are all mandated by law, so they are going to be funded. Everything else is in this one pot together. Every social program, everything else is in one thing because there's not mandated, right? And so if we, again, it's about priorities. It's like, you know what, 20 million a year, not 20 million, 20 trillion with a T a year in military expenditures that we could have pulled back and reinvested in our country.
But that was just for Afghanistan.
And that was just for Afghanistan.
Right.
So I don't know. We can actually talk about this topic around Hurricane Ida all night long, and what it has revealed, what it's illuminated about how our house is not in order, about natural disasters, how they're only getting worse, how the ferocity of these storms is only increasing. So whatever you want to call it, child, it don't matter whatever you call it, because the impact, that's all you need to understand, is the impact. I have a fellow Xavier Wright in Philadelphia. She was like, I'm good, but my car is not. Like her whole car was basically flooded out. You know, they were not expecting that to happen like that. And in New Jersey, those people were not expected. Though you talk about the socioeconomic impact, a lot of people who died in these basement apartments, though people converted their homes to these apartments, so they're creating space. So they probably just trying to pay their rent, so they have somebody renting out their basement. And a lot of people died in New York and New Jersey in these basement apartments that ain't supposed to really be apartments.
Well, but you think about it, even if they are supposed to be apartments, I'm not even thinking about whether they were regulated or not. The idea that, like, who thinks that when the remnants of a hurricane pass through, this is going to cause so much flooding that you die in a basement apartment? That is horrifying. That is a horrifying thought.
Was raining down on you.
Right. So yeah, it's so much. It's so much.
And COVID. And COVID. Because everything that I'm seeing, so to tie to Ida, everything that I'm seeing about all the people who are at home trying to rebuild, trying to pick up the pieces, trying to figure it out, they're not thinking about wearing a mask right now. They're not thinking about protecting themselves. But the fact of the matter is, you know, like we had to tell our parents, yes, like we said, we had our own story. You can't get on the roof to put a tarp up, because if you slip and fall, you can't go to the hospital. Because even though we're not talking about COVID right now let me not say we're not talking about it. The focus is on the hurricane. The hospitals are still filled to capacity. Then you got people who taking the horse dewormer, so now they're taking up beds as well. So it's like, you can't just get up on a roof and talk about putting a tarp up. Hell, you can't accidentally step on a nail or something. Well, you know, it's interesting you mentioned that, because I have a friend who shared a personal story like that. Father-in-law was trying to do some work around the house, get some things in order, was hurt, went to the emergency room, was there 7 hours, and still wasn't able to be seen because it's filled with COVID patients. So,
right. And when the electricity is off, as it's uncomfortable, we're hot, what have you, but you know, the priority has to be for these hospitals, because you still have patients on oxygen and who are in need of a lot of medical attention,
And here in our city, in Orlando, and other local cities who use liquid oxygen to treat the water for your water treatment system, we've been asked to conserve water. So we've been asked not to wash our cars, not to do any power washing, not to water the lawn, because there's a shortage of liquid oxygen to treat the water system, because the liquid oxygen is being used for COVID patients. And based on what I saw on my TV this weekend, 2 weeks. We everywhere right now is like, oh, we've reached our peak, our peak for our summer peak. We reached our summer peak. Baby, college football said, wait a minute, we y'all ain't done with me. COVID, we not done yet. Based on what I saw on my TV. So I don't know what you saw on your TV.
Well, here's what I will say. I'm going to shout out the folks of San Francisco and the surrounding areas, because we were there for a few days, and every restaurant we went in, they needed to see proof of our COVID vaccination in order for us to go inside and sit in the restaurant. So mostly everybody we saw, not every single person, but mostly everyone, even walking down the street, had on their masks. Of course, like I said, we went to Alcatraz, and we also went to a national forest, and it was like, okay, while you're on this bus traveling to the national forest, you had to keep your mask on. And then when we went into Alcatraz, it was like, this is federal property. Masks are mandated. And so I really, 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 when I saw the LSU UCLA game, or it was Ohio State game, and
the Wisconsin and State
game, yeah, I really, really, really would have liked if those various conferences had mandated that everybody who stepped into those stadiums was required to wear a mask. And here's why. A few weeks ago, Joe Biden got in trouble for whatever comments he made about Facebook sharing misinformation about COVID-19. And when I see a network panning the crowd of students and parents, and few people are wearing a mask, I feel like that's a misinformation campaign as well. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's irresponsible of those networks to pan these crowds of folks that are maskless, because number one, I know y'all didn't ask them to show proof of vaccination. But number two, because what you have indirectly, unconsciously, subconsciously stated is, we're good. We're back. And we ain't. There is no back. Everything moving forward is different. So like, we need to act accordingly. And I thought it was grossly irresponsible of all of the networks who aired these football games, and all of these people are in there without any level of protection.
And then let's mention the variants. How about that? So we were trying to do our Greek alphabet. We was counting on our fingers, because they already talk about, oh, the mu.
Yeah, this was the first time I had heard about mu. You all told me about mu. I was like, I thought we was at Delta. Then I started doing the Greek alphabet, because I was like, that sounds like 7 letters between Delta and mu. What in the devil?
That's right, Tanya Hall. Mu is out there, and honey, because I had heard about Lambda, but Lambda didn't do too much, seem like. Then it was all about the Delta. But now there's been a couple cases of mu. And when I saw those football stadiums, all I could say was variants upon variants upon variants. Now, likely many of the college age students, probably a requirement to go back to school was that they would be vaccinated, because many colleges did that. Not all of them did that. But they're not the only people in those stadiums. They're not the only people in these places. So, child, all I could see, I just said 2 weeks. The story will be told about this weekend, about Labor Day weekend 2021, will be told in 2 weeks.
Well, hey, for all the people who are like, you just have to be healthy, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, Oscar De La Hoya is up here messed up. Supposed to, now y'all can't tell me y'all healthier than Oscar De La Hoya. So he done already had it. Been vaccinated. No, not, I'm sorry. I don't know if he had it already, but I know he's been vaccinated and has gotten it. And it looked like Oscar, like, he ain't dead, but it looked like it ain't just that easy. So just the idea of being healthy, oh well, if you just drink your juices and berries and take your herbs, you'll be okay. And then that's not how the virus works. So
that is not how the virus work. And if you are willing, and so this is the thing that gets me, and I dropped in the link about Oscar De La Hoya. If you are willing to take, first it was hydrochloroquine.
Now no, first it was bleach. Let's go back.
It was like we was just going the rays. We were going to insert that in the body. The rays, and then maybe.
Well, first it was just going to wash away. It was going to wash away.
First it was just going to wash away. You know, like Jesus did for our sins, he just washed it away. So here we are. With now people are willing to take something for parasites, right? Because ivermectin is for parasites. Now, if you had a parasitic infection, they might prescribe it for you. They might give you a dosage that they might give you a dose that they would give to humans. It has been done.
Okay.
However,
but y'all going, if you
COVID is not a parasite.
The A and B, if you go into the feed store, the pet store,
that's all you need to know right there. If you ain't getting it at Walgreens or CVS or Walmart,
well, no, maybe at Walmart you're going to the pet section.
Okay, never mind. No, Eckert's gonna work, ain't around no more. Rite Aid, if we still have Rite Aid. Dwayne Reed, if you up in whatever store that you normally go get prescriptions filled, if it ain't, girl, listen, you better say that. First, it was a hoax. How about that? Child, listen. All I know is when you allow a virus to run rampant and to mutate, it is going to be with us a long time. And I am tired. But if you're willing to take everything else but the vaccine, if you're willing to take these monoclonal antibodies, which also have emergency use authorization, and you're willing to get injected 4 times and not take a vaccine or wear a mask, I don't know where your sense of like reality is, because none of that makes sense to me.
None of it makes sense to me for the sake of politics, because at the end of the day, that's all this is about. This is about us continuing to be divided along party lines to try to prove that, oh, Joe Biden don't know what he's doing, to try to prove, oh, you know, we told y'all it was just a hoax. It ain't that serious. We still trying to feed into all of that foolishness. Look, whether you think it's a hoax or not, at the end of the day, you should care enough about you to at least wash your hands on a regular basis, wear a mask, and stay out of people's face. If you can't, if you don't want to get the vaccine,
we've been gone this summer. We ain't even talk about these people who talk about they don't take baths every day. Like,
well, that's white celebrities stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there are white non-celebrities that do it too, but that's the ones who kept talking about it and thinking, they wondering why we looking at them like. But see, we've been trying to tell y'all this. Folks are nasty out here, and so that's why you should just be wearing the mask on the strength of people are nasty. Remember how it was? Maybe y'all don't know. I remember. Remember how it was when you were flying and people were sneezing all the time and coughing, and you be like feeling like you got hit by something.
Every time I flew, I would feel sick when I got back.
Absolutely. This is why we put on the mask. And the Chinese been like, we've been doing this because we know y'all nasty. You know, my friend Katrina told me she was sitting next to a man, had his mask on. He gonna put his hand under the mask after he coughed. She was like, why would you do that? That's what the mask is for. So listen, again, if you're not even gonna do those three things, wash your hands, wear a mask, and stay away, stay out of people's face, I don't know what else to say. So take the horse dewormer. Try your luck. I really, really, really wish, and I know medical professionals are such wonderful people. I really, really wish all of these people would just sign advance directives and say, I'm gonna go with the horse dewormer. I'm gonna try it, and whatever happens, happens. And stop going to the emergency rooms. Stand by your conviction. If Jesus is gonna heal you, because Jesus created people with scientific minds and made them doctors and nurses. My Lord did that. But if your Lord only created horse dewormer and prayer, go with God, go with your horse dewormer and prayer, but please sign an advanced medical directive that say you will not.
Don't clog up this hospital system.
Exactly.
And getting these good treatments.
Exactly. Because again, for where we started, for all the people that I know who have succumbed to cancer of late, there's a piece of me that is deeply saddened by the idea that I wonder if they got the type of care that they were, if we were not in this moment,
yeah,
would their care have been different?
Yeah.
But because we have so many resources dedicated to patients who are suffering from COVID, and I'm not saying they shouldn't, but because of that, did they not get the full care that they would have otherwise got? I will never know that answer. But for that reason alone, I'm healthy, and I know there are people who have compromised immune systems out there. I will do my best because I would hate to feel like my germs caused somebody else to lose their life. And I really just wish people would look at it like that.
Yeah, well, we had several comments. I was showing them as we went along. This is a long hoax, girl. Yes, indeed. I'm old, so the mask will probably be with me to the grave. I'm just saying, mask gonna be with me to the grave too, because I actually am okay with not breathing other people's air. Sometimes, I just see things. So, all right. Well, just quick recap. You are watching Hey Sister right now. It's the evening of hot topics. We've talked about Hurricane Ida. We've talked about and COVID, which don't want to go away. We've been talking about COVID for almost 2 years. I'm so tired. Oh my God. Now Texas.
Oh, Texas. Gilead, as we like to call it.
So let's just say, okay, so we could go back to, now I saw this post the other day. I thought it was funny. It was a little meme. Said, the world just ain't been the same since that Popeye's chicken sandwich. I'm sorry I laughed, y'all, but so I said it. The world ain't been the same since that Popeye's chicken sandwich. And I'm like, Lord, ain't you never lie, honey?
They would put the vaccine in that damn Popeye's chicken sandwich.
Girl. So Texas, which had a huge power failure last winter, almost killed, I don't know how many people in their state died, who just passed antiquated election laws because they're really trying to disenfranchise more people from voting. It already was a place that did not have the best record with voting. Now they have a law, the heartbeat law, in terms of it's illegal to terminate a pregnancy, but not only is it legal to terminate a pregnancy as early as 6 weeks, but if the physician or somebody gives you a ride even if it's Uber or Lyft, a random person who ain't got god dang gone thing to do with you in your life can sue. I thought they didn't like frivolous lawsuits. I thought they didn't like to be tying up the court system with foolishness and frivolity. But the same Texas that has their attorney general, I think it's their attorney general or their lieutenant governor who is under investigation. Like, I used to live in Texas, y'all. And I'm starting to wonder if it's me, because I lived in Louisiana, Texas, Georgia, and now Florida.
It's you then. They
all. What? It's me? They all messed up. So, sister.
So here's what I'm doing.
Under his eye. Yes. Oh yeah, and that's the other thing they passed. They passed that everybody can carry a gun. You ain't got to be licensed. Anybody ain't got to have no training. It's open carry for everybody in Texas now.
All right. Well, Texas has chosen violence. So here's what I want to say about this. I don't want to call it a heartbeat law, because at the end of the day, no one they don't care about anybody's heartbeats. You have thousands of refugees from other countries seeking political asylum, and you call them illegal aliens, and you tell them to go back to their country, although Texas was once Mexico, and there's that whole thing. You have people who are really in dire need of help, right? Children whose parents are willing to give them to a coyote to get across the border, because they feel like their life would be in less danger doing that. We have human trafficking that takes place very often through Texas, Arizona, these states. So we're not going to call it a heartbeat law, because you really genuinely don't care about children or anybody's heartbeat. At the end of the day, old white men are so afraid of dying out that they are willing to go to the ends of the earth in order to continue to replicate themselves. Because at the end of the day, we know they don't care about white women either. So they want to be replicated so badly. The census has come out. It has said, listen, white people, it's less of y'all. It's fewer of y'all than it was before. It still takes all of the quote unquote non-white populations to come to be collected, counted as one, to be more than the whites. But for whatever reason, the old white men are so afraid of losing power and losing control that they're going to pass all these asinine laws in order to make sure we can replicate more of them. And what I always say is, the reason why they don't want minorities to be in charge is because they know what they've done to minorities, and they are afraid that minorities might actually return.
But we're not minorities.
No. We are not minorities. That's their terminology. They are afraid that people that they've oppressed for years and years, if ever they're in if it reverses and they're in charge, that means we're afraid about what would happen to us because we know what we've done to them.
That's right.
And that's the sad reality. But I wanted to share this. There's a gentleman, he's a painter. His name is Nicholas Smith. I follow him on Instagram. He said, 2019 was the most difficult year of our lives. My wife was pregnant and in extreme unusual pain. With the access to the usual prenatal tests and thanks to healthcare professionals, she was able to get an abortion for medical reasons. If my wife wasn't, quote, allowed to do that in 2019, our son would never have been born in 2020. Abortion is never an easy decision that a woman has to make, and it should be normalized. It is a safe medical procedure. But above all, it is a woman's right to make decisions for her own body, not politics, not religion. Meanwhile, in Texas. And when I read that story, again, we get so caught up on words, right? We hear the word abortion and we lose our minds. You know, a miscarriage, by definition, is your body aborting
Yeah.
a a fetus. You know,
Called
it is
spontaneous abortion. That's what it's called. That was
spontaneous.
what it was called before, spontaneous abortion, when you had a miscarriage.
Right. So the idea that we have demonized the term abortion as if, first of all, no one is using abortion as birth control. Let us be clear about that. No one is going to the doctor on a regular basis like, yep, take that right on out. I'm going to do it again next week. Take it. Nobody is doing that. This is medical decisions that often have to be made for the life of the mother. And the fact
so what their law does say, so this is what pissed me off with it. Because so they said it would have to be, they do have medical exemption in there, but no exemption for rape or incest.
That's what I'm about to get to, though. You can say that you have medical exemptions, but again, if the damn Uber driver can put a bounty on your head for going to an abortion clinic, how can you? Who's defining whether it was a medical abortion? Who's really defining that? Are they going to make that? Are they going to make that decision? They're going to put you on trial and decide, okay, yeah, you know what? That was for medical reasons. We'll let you go. And then rape and incest. Again, let me say this. This sounds very ugly, but some of these same people who think it's okay for a child to be raped, a young girl to be raped by her uncle, her father, her neighbor, the priest, or whatever, and has to carry a child to term. Many of them same people friends with folks like Jeffrey Epstein. The reason you don't want that child to abort, because some of y'all have some deviant behavior yourself. Perversions. So it's sick all the way around. But again, y'all want to solve the problem? Been saying 13 years old boys have a vasectomy and go ahead, do what you got to do. Reverse it when you're married and you're ready to be a parent for real. Mm-hmm. Since everybody wants to legislate women's bodies, let's legislate the men's body. Let's mandate that, because y'all don't even want to wear a mask. But you want to control my uterus and fallopian tubes and ovaries? No.
And that's the hypocrisy of it all. The hypocrisy of it all is it's my body. I could do what I want to. I don't have to wear a mask. I should have a choice if I want to. But then when we talk about choices, it's like the hypocrisy is rich.
And don't say it's about religion, because again, you don't care about children. Because at the same time, y'all the same people who, anytime there's a social program, you call it socialism.
Right, you want to cut it. Well, I dropped the link in there in the chat here for y'all to go take a look at. There's a video from George Carlin, which is some years ago, and he was talking about this very topic. It's definitely pressing, but he said from as long as it's in the womb, they care. When they come out, F you. Like no Head Start, no food stamps, no early childhood education, honey. We ain't funding none of that. But when you 18, we want you to join the military so then we can send you off to war. So that's the only time they care about you. Before you're born, and then when we can put you in our military. Other than that,
and then when they put you in the military, so if we transition to Afghanistan, they put you into the military. You have these young kids who have died as a result of having been in Afghanistan for as long as some of them have been born and then you trying to act like you care so much about the military. Well, what have you done for military veterans at all who have come back, who need counseling, who need help with getting a home? What have y'all done? Thank you for your service, but you care so much about, yeah, that it's this Texas law, because I know it's going to open the floodgates.
Oh,
But here,
oh yeah, Florida is already trying.
no,
Louisiana.
Mississippi going back to revisit something that happened. But here's the gag. Here's the gag. Because you think this is going to create more white babies and fewer minority babies. Because apparently y'all really believe that y'all speaking for us or what have you. Here's the gag. There has never been a time in the history of this country when a woman wanted to get an abortion that she did not. The difference is safe versus not.
Mm-hmm.
Above ground versus underground. Yes, go. I'm sorry.
It said white women are going to know how to beat the system.
Well, it won't be beating the system for them, but yeah, it'll be.
Especially the ones with financial resources.
Yep.
They already doing that anyway. So
yes. This does not apply to them. Yes.
Yeah. Mandate if the woman gets pregnant, the male has to have a vasectomy. Why not? Let's do it. So Texas wants to regulate my uterus, but don't like mask mandate. So Texas gonna address the Black women mortality rate giving birth?
Nope, probably not.
They don't even want to fund WIC and Medicaid for pregnant mothers. Nope, they don't. They don't. So none of that. For real, for real. None of that. Y'all watch that video and tell us what y'all think. It's insanity. Now we're gonna go to the other place out west where you used to live. So what's going on with your former home state, sister?
Well, child, sounds like Larry Elders is trying to be their governor because again, you put laws on the books for the time, not thinking about what the future might hold. And so now Lil Gavin, supermodel Gavin Newsom, is up for this recall. And at first, it sounded foolish, right? I think everybody was like, stop it. But sadly, Gavin went out to eat one night. And that's all they needed. He went out to eat during the pandemic with friends at an expensive place while the restaurants and everything were closed in California. I believe it's called French Laundry. May not even exist anymore. I don't know. But he went out to eat, and that's what they jumped on. And so now he's bringing out Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders. He got all the ads in Spanish. He's trying to attract the Hispanic, Latino, Latinx voters. And so, of course, the ramifications are if a Trump Republican. So the way I understand it, and Rosalind, you can correct me if I'm wrong. The way I understand it is quite stupid. It's like if he doesn't get majority of the votes, then he doesn't win, and second runner-up wins. Like that's even though he will have still gotten. So say if he got 49% of the votes, but he didn't get the clear majority.
Right, because they got 11 people on the ballot.
Right. Then
there ain't no runoff.
Right there, the second place will win. And if second place wins, it's a Trump Republican. The fear is because I believe Dianne Feinstein is coming out.
First of all, let's talk about all of these old folks. Dianne Feinstein, them Supreme Court, all of these people. I'm sick of y'all. Auntie Maxine, I love you, but sis, Nancy, sis, y'all need to be grooming successors because it should not even be this mess. Madness, y'all in that 80, 82, 85. Jim, Thank God we got you in South Carolina. But Jim, who is your successor, brother? We need some successors.
Yeah. So yeah, Dianne Feinstein is who they look to replace in the Senate, and obviously we know if that happens, the floodgates open again. So yeah, it's terrible, and I'm
Diane,
hoping
how
that
old is Diane? Look, Diane is 88. Diane was born in 1933. Do you hear me?
well, you're not gonna age shame these people, okay? These people said they are public servants, and no, the unfortunate piece is, to be serious, the unfortunate piece is that we don't have enough folks who, like you said, are being groomed. There are no succession plans. When I look at both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, as someone who is non-party, I I feel like they, again, branding is lacking on both sides. There's not enough differentiation. I mean, there are obviously clear demarcation, but in terms of what do you really stand for? There's not enough of clear definition, and there's not enough of here's the succession plan. Like you said, we're actively looking for, if Democrats, are going to be considered the party of diversity, equity, and inclusion, then who are the young people that we're looking to bring on board and to succeed our older states?
Listen, I'm done with them. It's too much. I definitely believe in term limits for the Senate. I believe in term limits all the way around. Don't believe that the Supreme Court should be a lifetime appointment. I don't think any federal judgeship should be a lifetime appointment. I mean, I think everything should have an expiration freaking date. Period. A use by date. Sorry, I'm done. And because you don't have a use by date, everything is at risk now because of this. We have a comment here. The California government has to get 50% of the voters to say no to the recall to stay in the office. If he doesn't, then the candidate who wants to replace him receives the most vote wins automatically. And that's right, Denise. I am with no lifetime appointments. I'm done. Because now we got on the Supreme Court. Oh, Lord, let's not even go there. Them folks on that Supreme Court. Brett,
I'm a white man who was accused
Amy. I'm
something.
still mad at Thomas from 1992.
Clarence, you mean?
Clarence and his wife who was funding the insurrection. Yeah, that Clarence Thomas, him and his wife. Sick of all of these people, okay? All of them.
I am too, sister. I am sick of all of these people. But then I have the question of, so who's coming up? Like, don't get me wrong. We just said there needs to be succession plans, but the vast majority of us don't want to get into politics because
somebody needs to run against that Joe Kennedy in Louisiana too. Okay?
John Kennedy.
John, not Joe, John. Because Cassidy just won his. Yeah. Well, he just won last time. So he just started over. Right. Yeah. So he just started over a 6-year term. But that John Kennedy is coming up in 2022. And y'all need to get y'all another senator from the state of Louisiana. Because I was looking at him and Scalise and boy, I just wanted to just drop kick him in the throat. I'm like, oh, y'all on the tarmac talking to the president, trying to talk up the president and Cedric, but y'all the main ones who got something to say. Y'all don't want the government to do this, that, and the other. Then why do you want to work for the government so bad? I'm so sick of these people. Stop it. Stop it with your tomfoolery. Y'all are tuned in right now to Hey Sister. We are talking about hot topics. I am Demetria. Y'all know my sister Christina. We've been on a rant about hot topics, and I know we just don't go a little bit over time. So we want to add a little bit of levity to the situation because this has been a night of heavy hot topics. Child, y'all know Hey Sister is back from some hiatus, so we had to start it off right. So a little bit of levity. Now, we were having this conversation with my teenage son yesterday. Who y'all got? Y'all with Donda or y'all with Certified Lover Boy? Me personally, I ain't listening to neither one. I heard a few of the Certified Lover Boy songs on my Sirius XM today, and I was like, that's what I was like. So y'all saw that the facial expression. I was woefully unimpressed. Wasn't really saying nothing that moved my spirit. So, child, I just want to know why we still even trying to do rap battles and beefs.
All right. Here's who I am with. I am with Andre.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know them people, girl. I don't know them.
I am with Andre 3000. But before I get to being with Andre 3000, here's what I have to say. You know, I told you I follow I follow Donnie Rose. Donnie Rose is a young man I think originally out of Baton Rouge, or he's from Louisiana now, living on the East Coast. Real solid young man. And you know, he made some posts about both Donda's artists and CLB's artists. Aubrey, in the sense of him enabling abusers, i.e. R. Kelly, by sampling his music and thus ensuring that he still gets a check. And Kanye enabling abusers like having the baby and Marilyn Manson on one of his concerts, one of them concerts he's at. And like he said, the baby is problematic, but put him aside. Marilyn Manson has been accused of torturing women. And so this whole idea of just doing things for shock value because you want to be always making headlines. You know, look, he's a billionaire. I am not. So maybe there's something to, you know, always having to stir the pot in order to continue to make the money, what have you. I think it's unfortunate. I feel like you and I came from a time where we've listened to great music, rap music, and we've listened to foolish rap music.
Yes.
But
and I'm down for a foolish rap song any day of the week, honey.
Yes, I've had my share of foolish rap, love for foolish rap songs. But I really do feel like there's just a level of musicality that's missing. I mean, again, rap, rhythm, and poetry. Rhythm and poetry. There is very little that's poetic about what a lot of these people are saying. And so I guess it just means I'm old, but I'm here for Andre 3000. Here's his statement. I'll truncate a little bit. He said, a few weeks ago, Kanye reached out about me being a part of the Donda album. I was inspired by his idea to make a musical tribute to his mom. It felt appropriate to me to support the Donda concept by referencing my own mother who passed away in 2013. We both share that loss. I thought it was a beautiful choice to make a clean album, but unfortunately, I didn't know that was the plan before I wrote. I don't know, but I'm reading it how it is, and recorded my verse. It was clear to me that an edited clean format of the verse would not work without having the raw original also available. So sadly, I had to be omitted from the original album release. The track I received and wrote to didn't have the diss verse on it, and we were hoping to make a more focused offering for the Donda album, but I guess things happen like they are supposed to. It's unfortunate that it was released in this way, and two artists that I love are going back and forth. I wanted to be on Certified Lover Boy too. I just want to work with people that inspire me. Hopefully I can work with Kendrick on his album. I'd love to work with Lil Baby, Tyler, and Jay-Z. I respect them all. And so all I have to say, you know, Andre Benjamin, Andre 3000 is one of the best, in my opinion, who's ever done it. And so at the end of the day, this man is like, I ain't trying to get caught up in y'all BS. I just want to work with good people who I respect and admire and who inspire me. And the fact that you inspire an Andre 3000 should have been good enough instead of worrying about what Drake over there doing and Drake dropping the stuff because he worrying about what Kanye do. Talk about the crabs in the barrel mentality. We can all have some.
But again, so this is the one of the things that I wonder: is that really either of them, or is that what the record companies do?
Oh yeah, I'm sure, and I'm sure. I mean, listen, this is all for the purpose of these kind of conversations. More, well, what he said. Well, let me listen. Yeah, we know this is a part of the way they do it, but we also know, being of a certain age, and as we said, right now, people, these young kids are really loving on Aaliyah, loving on Tupac, and all of these things. We are of a certain age where we see these marketing beefs can cause people to lose their lives.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Whew, child. Well, I'm gonna tell y'all right now. I don't know about either of them. I know my son said he likes them both. My daughter is like trying to get me to listen to Tyler, the Creator, and the Internet. I ain't never heard of either of them, but you know, hey, I'm open. And if you do something good, like I like, what's his name? What's Jermaine's name?
Who?
Oh Lord, what's the little boy? From Jermaine is his real name. What's his name?
I don't know what he's saying. What is
J. Cole. J. Cole.
Oh
Jermaine.
no,
I
you
like
said
Jermaine.
Jermaine. I'm child. Okay,
That's
you
child.
can call
I
him.
like little Jermaine. All of his songs, I'm like, I follow, I hear the story, I see the message, I feel all that you're putting down. These other folks out there, I just like, go get a life somewhere. Well, anyway, I don't know. We had one more topic tonight. We might as well talk about it since we still out here on this Labor Day
Oh
week.
wait, no, I don't want to talk about that one. Since you just said since we out here, can we talk about Dale and Sonya for just a second? I'm sorry. Big Brother, listen, I watch Big Brother. Anybody who watches Big Brother out there, y'all tell me about the fact that the cookout is still going. Y'all tell us what's happening with the people of color making the alliance. But can we talk about Dale and Sonya and Solomon, Missouri? Because that brother.
Steph and Seth's mom and daddy is out in these streets, y'all. That's all I want y'all to know. And if y'all don't know who Steph and Seth are, both of them are NBA players. Mr. Stephon Curry, Mr. Seth Curry. Their mama is Sonya. Their daddy is Dale Curry, former NBA player himself. Mama and daddy, after 33 years of marriage, have decided to file for divorce. He filed for divorce. And then there's allegations of infidelity on both sides. However, what's my man's name?
Solomon, Missouri. Look him up.
Yeah, about these streets. If y'all don't know about these streets, I'm gonna tell y'all. As he said, you don't want to be out in these streets.
As he said, you don't have the cholesterol.
You do not want to be out in these streets. You don't have the stamina. These are the children of what's her
Rihanna.
Child, listen. So we are look, yes to J. Cole, yes, 30 plus years. I looked at Jeff. I said, listen, Jeffrey Paul, let me tell y'all something right now. You need to find a link so you can drive. You found a link for me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Because I couldn't find. I said, listen, Jeffrey Paul, I'm gonna tell you something right here. There ain't nothing that should have gone on in that marriage that they couldn't have had a conversation about at this damn point. Okay. Y'all could have did a Will and Jada, had a conversation and understanding and kept people out y'all business. Okay. But after 33 years, I just went out to the store today and I was like, it's just, these streets ain't got nothing for you out here. Just nothing. Nothing.
Not nothing. Listen, he said, let me tell you how it started. He says, let me tell y'all
He said,
something.
look, the
First he said,
dating
bud.
the dating pool has pee in it.
He said, you don't want to be out here learning TikTok dances and falling off milk crate. Do you like turmeric? Charcoal ice cream? These people are 60% crab leg, 30% iced coffee, and 10% vape.
Yeah,
Let me tell y'all
their
something.
mom and daddy need a red table talk. They do. They need to come to an agreement and understanding because at this point, but I see people, 25 years, 27 years, I guess having found themselves or lost themselves somewhere along the way and trying to rediscover themselves. The bottom line is when you're with a partner, you need to have the fortitude to have all of these conversations all along the way and have them when you happy
Mm.
because you're going to need to call on them when you're not happy.
Here's what I think. I think that Sonya has probably been putting up with Dale having some side pieces, side things, side chicks for years. Because Dale was in the NBA.
Oh, we got to assume the negative of the NBA player. Okay.
Dale was in the NBA. Dale was traveling. They've been together since college. I'm sure that there was a period in his life that he was trying to explore what was out there. I'm just going based on what Sonya had said, because Sonya had said, everybody in the family know that he had his stuff. Now he coming for me. But that's what Sonya had said. But
we saw them pictures of Sonya in that skybox with that man grabbing her all around her waist and stuff.
Sonya said she did not do nothing outside. Now, granted, they are not divorced, but apparently they've been separated now for over a year. And her thing is, I started dealing with this man after that. I know I don't live with him. I live in my own place because you didn't put me out the house. And I really do. Something deep within me believes that you've been clowning all these years, Dale. And the woman that took you back and dealt with it for the sake of keeping the family structure together. We all look cute out here in these streets. Everybody married, everybody happy. Y'all wanted to keep it looking classy. And then it got to a point where she was like, no, I'm good. And so then she said, let me go and step over here with this former NFL player who went to college with us. So I'm pretty sure they was all running the same circles. But you ain't heard that from me. And he was like, oh, no, you can't do that, because that happens to be often what men do, right? When they do it, women are supposed to understand. But when women do it, it's like, oh, hell no. How you going to play me out here in these streets? I'm dead. But again,
because he ain't got that stamina no more and she's still in her dipping and doing phase.
Exactly. And listen, at the end of the day, 33 years, I'm not gonna
it ain't worth it, y'all. Don't do it. It ain't worth it.
Y'all tell grown people what to do. She obviously has somebody else. I'm sure we'll get somebody else. But again, in my perspective, I just don't understand after 33 years. If you didn't clock out after year 5, then 33 is just, listen, we're going to take a break. We're going to go on hiatus.
As Denise said, just wait it out.
Yeah. We're going to go
y'all, listen, we coming to a terms of agreement and understanding. This is how this thing is going to work and play out. And we're going to be, again, like I said, you need to have these conversations when you liking each other and when you loving on each other every day.
And you need to do as we've done this weekend in San Francisco. Point out to each other, this is what's in them streets. This is what's out there. So you have choices and decisions to make, but you see what's out there.
The streets ain't for everybody.
No.
They definitely not for the faint of heart or the elder of age.
Like Solomon said, stay with the woman of your youth. Stay with the wife of your youth. So That's all I
Okay.
have to say.
Well, we want to thank y'all for tuning in to Hey Sister tonight. Be sure to tell everybody that we are back. Be sure to like, follow, share, subscribe. Let folks know that we ain't fall off. We took a little hiatus, took a little break. We all need a little break
What
sometime.
Dale and Sonya needed to do, but continue.
Honey, look, they could anyway. We ain't talking about them no more. Y'all, we thank y'all for tuning in to Hey Sister tonight. Mwah. Love you, and we will see you next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night.